How's it, everybody? Welcome to the Empire's Call. My name is Alistair, and in today's episode I will be discussing and reviewing the 2020 Formula 1 World Championship Eifel Grand Prix that was held just this past weekend at the Nurburgring in Germany. Now, for any of those who have just heard this, who aren't familiar with the situation, you would say, Eifel GP Germany? But isn't the Eiffel Tower in France? Well, no. Well, I mean, yes, the Eiffel Tower is in France, but just to give you a quick breakdown of what had happened, is that Eifel is the name of the region in Germany in which the Nurburgring is located. And because over the last few years the German Grand Prix has always been held at the Hockenheim Racetrack, it couldn't be this year because the owners of the Hockenheim race circuit and the owners of Formula 1 could not come to a financial agreement over the race being held this year at the racetrack itself. So of course it was removed from the calendar altogether. But of course, with the pandemic, which threw a cat in amongst the pigeons, Formula 1, or the owners of Formula 1, had to then scramble to obviously amend the Formula 1 calendar to allow for as many races as possible. Of course, also the owners of the Hockenheim race circuit own the naming rights to the German Grand Prix. So of course, the owners of Formula 1, Liberty Media, were not then able to name it the German Grand Prix. So of course what they did is they held it at the world famous Nurburgring. Of course it wasn't the full length of the well-known Nurburgring Racetrack, which is over 20 kilometers long. It was just a small section of it which would then meet the FIA standards to have a Formula 1 race. Of course, they, as I said before, because they couldn't name it the German Grand Prix, they named it the Eifel Grand Prix, which is, as I said before, the region in which the racetrack is located. Gave it that name as they did earlier in the season when they held the Styrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull racetrack in Austria, named after the area of Styria, in which of course the racetrack itself is located. So that's just a quick roundup of that situation for those of you who didn't know it already. To have a look at the race itself, I mean, guys, wow. Congratulations to Lewis Hamilton. 91 Formula 1 Grand Prix victories to his name, equaling that of the legendary Michael Schumacher. Of course, everybody knows only too well. I do feel very sorry for Valtteri Bottas. I mean, he had a fantastic qualifying session, and he really, really put the fight up to Lewis Hamilton in the early stage of the race. But he did suffer a very untimely and unfortunate mechanical issue with his car, which means that he couldn't complete the race at the end of the day, because he really should have won it. He had done everything right up until that point, and the car, surprisingly, being such a reliable car as it is, was unable to continue the race. And he obviously bowed out fairly early into the race itself. But to have a look at Lewis Hamilton, I mean, when you've got one of the most talented drivers ever in the history of Formula 1, mixed with one of the most amazing race cars ever, and just an amazing team that is Mercedes, it's inevitable that a race driver of his caliber is going to, reach the success that he has. I mean, of course, he's going to well surpass the 91 victories that Michael Schumacher has held up until this point in time. He'll get well over 100, 7 world championships to match that of Michael Schumacher, probably even go for 8, if not more, and he will go down in history as the greatest driver. Not the most talented, but he will be going down as the greatest in terms of success, longevity, and so on and so forth. So it was just absolutely fantastic to see him win again. I mean, it's I don't even know how to explain it. It's not mundane, it's not boring, but it's just, we see it too often. I'd really like to see people mix it up. Of course, the almost unbreakable consistency of Max Verstappen finishing in the podium again. He was able to finish number 2 because he is just a vastly superior car over the rest of the pack, and he is just without a doubt one of the most talented drivers we have seen since the turn of the century. It was fantastic to see Daniel Ricciardo of Renault finish in 3rd. I must say, I was surprised he was going to do so. I would have definitely pegged the racing points to even the McLarens to finish above the Renault, but it only just further cements the argument that Daniel Ricciardo is by far one of the most talented drivers on the racetrack currently as we speak, and it will obviously only excite McLaren more when we have a look at him leaving Renault at the end of the season and then going through to McLaren. Of course, when Carlos Sainz leaves and goes to the Ferraris. Talking about the Ferraris, what can we just say? I mean, it was, again, a woeful performance. I really thought Charles Leclerc did the very best he could. I mean, he had absolutely fantastic scrap with Perez for a short period of the race, but his performance was so down that he was unable to compete. And I was just thinking about it the other day. You have the Mercedes, the Red Bulls, the Renaults, the Racing Points, and the McLarens, in no particular order, are faster than the Ferrari. Those cars, which means that you are left with, if I remember correctly, the Haas, the AlphaTauris, the Alfa Romeos, and the Williams are the only cars that are slower than the Ferraris. Let's just put that into perspective when we look at the success that Ferrari's had in its history from the year 1950, in which the first Formula One World Championship was held, up until now. I mean, honestly, guys, I just do not understand what is going on, to be honest. But as you know, I could go on this stuff for days. I'm actually not going to bother your time anymore with that. So yeah, guys, it was actually a good race. In my opinion, I'd give it a nod out. It wasn't the best race we've ever seen, definitely not the worst. It was just a good Formula One race as a whole. So otherwise, guys, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I really do appreciate it. Please remember to hit the like button if you've enjoyed the video you've seen today. Please also remember to hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video, as well as all the videos I've posted in the past, so that you'll be automatically reminded of all future videos I'll be posting on this particular channel. Otherwise, guys, have a good day. Cheers.